Deep within the dense woods, a forester stumbled upon an innocuous-looking underground pipe. Intrigued, he cautiously approached. Little did he know, this encounter was about to unravel a mystery that would haunt his every thought. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Sen thought that he was very familiar with these woods. He had lived near the forest edge ever since he was little and always loved to roam around. He had joined the army when he was just 19 years old and had been sent all over the world for the last 4 years. Now he finally had some time to go home and be with his loved ones. After spending a couple of days with the family, Sen had a day to himself, and he figured, what better way to spend it than to go out into the forest where he used to spend so many hours as a kid. Really make a trip down memory lane and see everything that has changed over the years. She was curious if he could still find his way in there, but he was surprised to learn that this was not the case. After about 3 hours of wandering around, Sen had to admit to himself that he was lost. He knew that he should probably call somebody to ask for help, but he was embarrassed. Somebody of his rank and military experience should be able to find his way around a forest in which children could find their way out easily. But the problem was that he had gotten so deep in the forest now that he had no good internet access. Then suddenly, Sen got distracted by a noise. He was not sure about what he had heard exactly, but he could confidently say that this was not an animal. He did not even sound natural, almost like it had been brought forward by something machine-like. Sen could not help but have his curiosity piqued. What on earth was going on here? It was not the first time that Sen had seen pipes comparable to this, but they were mostly used on buildings. Factories, more like. And there they would be used as exhaust pipes to possibly let smoke out of the building. But what was something like that doing so deep into the forest, with no clear road of even getting to it? This pipe had to lead somewhere, and Sen needed to know what the hell was going on down there. And so he slowly and carefully started to approach the pipe. Maybe he could get some other indication of what was going on here. But he clearly did not pay attention enough, as out of nowhere, his foot caught on a snare. In a matter of seconds, a rope around his ankle and a counterweight was dropped, which lifted him up in the air by his booth. He had stepped into a trap, one most likely used for animals. Or maybe it was here to protect whatever was going on below that pipe. Whatever the case may be, it seemed like Sen was destined to wait here until somebody came to either save or capture him. A man who had been in the military for 4 years straight did not just travel into the forest without a pocket knife. And so he quickly got it out of his coat and started fiercely cutting into the rope. He had no idea if this trap had set off any alarm, and he did not want to hang around defenselessly to find out. It did not take long for Sen to get out of his trap and end up with both feet back on the ground. He figured that his family had to be worried by now as well. He had been away for nearly 4 hours already. Sen's boots pressed softly against the carpet of leaves, each step causing him to tread carefully. The great expanse of the forest, usually familiar, felt daunting now. Pausing for a moment, Sen leaned against a moss-covered trunk. Childhood memories flashed before his eyes. As a young boy, he'd played in woods much like this, going on countless imaginary adventures. Has someone else been here? He pondered. This stone didn't belong in this setting. It was as if it were deliberately placed, waiting for someone to notice its anomalous presence. Sen felt both fear and allure. Inside him, the adventurer's spirit stirred, hungry for the unknown. His spirit craved exploration. Taking a moment to secure his gear and ensure he had a safe exit strategy, he committed to the descent. Whatever awaited him, he would face it with courage and determination. Sen noticed an immediate shift in the atmosphere. Goosebumps formed on Sen's arms, but it wasn't just the cold, it was the electric anticipation of what lay ahead. As he moved deeper, a metallic reflection caught his eye. Approaching it, Sen found himself facing a heavy-set door, but what caught his attention was the robust padlock sealing it. Years in the military had equipped Sen with an array of skills. One such skill was lockpicking, a tactic he'd learned during covert operations. Removing a small toolkit from his backpack, he began working on the padlock. After moments that felt like hours, there was a soft click. The padlock yielded, dropping heavily into Sen's hand. Pushing against the door's weight, what lay beyond was a long corridor, its extent hidden in dim shadows. As Sen ventured further into the corridor, the walls, instead of the rough stone he expected, were sleek and almost modern. His heart raced, and the logical trained part of his brain warred with primal fears. He'd face enemies in open fields and hidden trenches, but this felt different, more psychological. The faint humming grew louder, more pronounced as he progressed. Curiously, Sen paused, trying to discern its source. It reminded him of the pipe he had found in the forest. The corridor seemed endless, but a soft glow ahead suggested otherwise. Whatever the source, he sensed that he was nearing a significant revelation. The forest's secrets were on the verge of being unearthed. Emerging from the corridor, Sen was met with an expansive chamber filled with enormous machines. Gargantuan gears and colossal contraptions towered above him, their purpose unclear but undoubtedly intricate. The hum of machines created a consistent background, and he didn't want to disrupt it with clumsy steps. He moved gracefully between the monolithic structures, ensuring he didn't accidentally activate any mechanisms or alarms. Every step was taken with deliberate thought. Sen's gaze trailed to the ground, where a myriad of wires coursed like veins. They connected machines. Beyond a maze of machinery and interwoven conduits, Sen spotted a doorway. Unlike the vast entry he'd come through, this was smaller and seemingly older. The door itself was made of sturdy metal, its surface adorned with faded symbols and inscriptions. As Sen ventured deeper into the chamber, he noticed an almost imperceptible vibration under his boots. As he approached a secluded corner, a distinctive metallic clang caught his ear, the same sound he'd heard above in the forest. The noise was sharper here, echoing through the chamber with an eerie clarity. Sen's concentration was shattered when a voice rang out behind him. "Who are you?" He turned abruptly to find a man, rugged and wary, aiming a firearm directly at him. Dressed in utility wear and showing signs of long hours underground, this stranger stood with an air of authority. Surprise and apprehension surged through Sen. Should he plead or challenge, explain or remain silent? The gravity of the moment, with potential life or death consequences, thickened the air between them. Finding his voice, Sen began cautiously, "I'm just an explorer. I came upon this place following an unusual sound in the forest above." Step by step. As Sen spoke, the man's hard gaze began to soften. The rigidity in his posture eased. Finally, with a sigh, the firearm was lowered. "The pipe," he began, "is the lifeblood of this facility. Without it, none of these machines would function." The diagrams depicted a complex network, the pipe serving as a central artery. It channels vital resources, not just water or gas as you might expect, but something far more precious. Sen stared, realizing the vast implications of this underground marvel and its role in powering the unseen mechanisms around them. "Many years ago," the man explained, "a discovery of this magnitude needed protection from both avarice and fear." The room seemed to close in on him, the weight of what he now knew pressing down. From the shadows of the chamber, the man procured a thick envelope, extending it to Sen. "Your silence has a price," he intoned gravely. "This will ensure your discretion." Sen's fingertips brushed the envelope, feeling the cold promise of wealth. The hefty sum it contained could erase many of his troubles, but as he stared into the man's eyes, a fierce battle raged within him, questioning the worth of silence. The forest above had instilled in Sen a deep respect for truths, no matter how concealed. Holding the envelope, the weight of the decision bore down on him. Was it right to hide a revelation of this magnitude for personal gain? With a heavy heart, Sen ascended the ladder. The echo of the underground, with its secrets and shadows, seemed to fade with each rung he climbed. Bursting forth from the hatch, the canopy of trees above greeted him. The forest, indifferent to the world below, offered Sen a moment of tranquility. Embracing transparency, Sen couldn't keep the underground world a secret. His revelations, however, were met with skepticism, concern, and at times outright hostility. Friends distanced themselves, and strangers challenged his integrity. As days turned into weeks, the repercussions of his honesty took a toll on his life. But through it all, Sen held his head high, understanding that the price of truth was often steep, but always worth it. Years passed, but the forest remained unchanged, its depths still guarding the mysteries Sen had uncovered. For many, it was just a canopy of green, but for Sen, it was a monument to discovery, ethics, and personal growth.